Good day, and welcome to another episode of Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. So, I had been asked recently to do a video on the ongoing uh, drug war that is taking place inside of Mexico, or rather, a video about the drug cartels that exist inside of Mexico, and it's such a vast country, and there's so many uh, drug cartels that operate inside of Mexico. I mean, there's just the stories are basically unending. If you are interested in learning more about the drug war, the cartels, a good book is called Wolf Boys. That is a non-fictional account. Another great book I would suggest, or it's a series of books by Don Winslow. The first one is called Power of the Dog, and if you're interested, I highly recommend. Really, really good read, and it's loosely based upon the rise of the drug cartels, the really powerful drug cartels inside of Mexico, and that is again, it's Power of the Dog. But interesting story that occurred back in 2019 that you may have heard about. You may have seen glimpses of it on the news. But as you know, El Chapo Guzman, head of the Sinaloa cartel, and this is Sinaloa right here on the map, this area. It's a state inside of Mexico, and the capital is Culiacan. But as you know, El Chapo was captured. He's been captured and escaped and captured and escaped and then captured. And now he looks to be permanently captured as he's being held inside of a United States federal detention center. And he will probably spend the rest of his life in prison inside of the United States. But his son, El Chapo has a son who is now quite possibly leading the organization or is a key member of the organization of the Sinaloa cartel. But his name is Ovidio Guzman Lopez, and he's about 30 and 30 years old. And back in 2019, the Mexican National Guard, and the Mexican National Guard is actually a merger of the Mexican Federal Police, the military police, and then some naval assets as well. So it's this big paramilitary organization. It's not like you would think of an American National Guard, but probably more like maybe a Russian National Guard. It is a full-time law enforcement paramilitary force that has, you know, a high degree of military combat capability as well. Special forces, that sort of thing. But apparently, back in 2019, there was something known as the Battle of Culiacan, and that was the arrest of El Chapo Guzman's son. And the Mexican government would lead you to believe that it was a somewhat of a planned operation. Allegedly, there were rogue elements, and this is the official Mexican state side of the story, but that there was no valid warrants for Mr. Lopez Guzman, and he was captured, and then because there were no proper warrants, he was then let go. But it caused quite a stir in Culiacan. And the real story behind this capture kind of goes as follows. Um, we believe that Mr. Lopez Guzman, the son of El Chapo, was accidentally detained by elements of the Mexican National Guard out of sheer chance. And When that happened, obviously the police units, the National Guard units that conducted this operation, and again by accident detained and arrested uh, Lopez Guzman, obviously didn't have the necessary backup, the needed personnel strength required to overcome the significant cartel assets in Culiacan. So the Mexican government or the National Guard arrested and detained him, and within quite literally minutes, hours, as many as 700, possibly up to maybe even thousands of heavily armed cartel members. And you got to understand, when we say heavily armed, we mean that the Sinaloa cartel in Culiacan, in Sinaloa, they have armored vehicles. They have dump trucks. They have large all-terrain vehicles that Humvees that they've up armored, and they've created basically technicals with them. They have Browning 50 calibers mounted on these trucks, on these vehicles. They have RPGs, anti-tank weapons. So when you say the Sinaloa cartel, think of it as a true military organization. They have former members of the Mexican special forces, of the GAFI, the air mobile troops of the Mexican armed forces that are under their employment. But they arrested Mr. Lopez Guzman, and within minutes, hours, the whole city of Culiacan was under the effective control of the Sinaloa cartel. All entrances to the city were blocked by tractor trailers, burning tractor trailers. They set up checkpoints all across the city. They many of the actual National Guard personnel and their families, the barracks, I don't want to call them barracks. They're more like compounds where the family members can stay safely. But many of these were surrounded by members of the Sinaloa cartel, and some fighting occurred, and there were some fatalities on both sides. Not a great deal. Probably a handful, anywhere from 5 to a dozen, maybe. But they quickly understood that when I mean they, the Mexican National Guard came to the realization that they were not going to be able to maintain custody of Mr. Guzman, Lopez Guzman, the son of El Chapo, and he was released on order from Mexico City. I think the order came down directly from the president of Mexico. Hey, set this guy free. Because if they hadn't, it would have erupted into just a massive urban warfare setting. And for all intents and purposes, after that, the president of Mexico has basically capitulated to the drug cartels, or at least the large cartels. President Obrador is not wanting to fight the cartels head on, and I mean, that's really the only way, if they wanted to truly defeat the cartels, is to do it in a massive way, and they're not willing to do that. So effectively, the cartels run Mexico. It's very tough if you are a paramilitary unit inside of Mexico and you're told, hey, you can't conduct operations against these folks because it would just be too bloody. And at the same time, I'm not sure many of these units inside of Mexico, and it ranges from the state police, the federales, the National Guard, state police, municipal police. You go against these guys, and if you don't have the full backing of the state, there's a high degree you're going to be killed, and it's just not worth it to the Mexican government, the existing Mexican government, to engage these folks. And Obrador could be in the pockets of the cartels. A lot of the leadership obviously is. There is so much money involved in the drug trade that many of the skill sets, the technologies that the Sinaloa cartel has, and not just the Sinaloa cartels, there's other cartels as well that are just incredibly powerful, and more powerful than many of the state governments and even the federal government in Mexico. But yeah, the line on the operation, the Battle of Culiacan, was a kind of an unplanned rogue operation that maybe should not have taken place. But again, the reality is it was an accident. They stumbled upon this guy and figured out who he was, thought that they could arrest him and get a lot of credit, and they found out quickly that was not the case. That Culiacan could quickly become a no-go area for the federales, the Mexican National Guard, and it did. And he was released, and he remains released to this day, and resides someplace inside of Sinaloa and or Culiacan.